CityNews has been sharing harrowing stories of survivors of human trafficking. I'm Cristina Howorun, and tonight we look at solutions. Experts say if it can be identified early, if the right resources are in place, and if the justice system supports victims, traffickers can be stopped and held accountable.
The signs were daydreaming. I wasn't really an angry child, but definitely daydreaming, depressed, quiet. But as I got older, it was definitely a lot more anger, depression. I had anxiety attacks.
Jackie McClellan was trafficked from age 6, bought and sold to men and women in hotels and homes.
By the time I was 14 or 15, I was stealing alcohol from my parents' liquor cabinet. I would go to school drunk at 15 all the time, and nobody ever said a word. The teachers never said anything, and they had to have known.
Jackie now works as a peer support counselor, helping other survivors. She says there would be fewer victims if more people knew the early signs.
The harder it is for traffickers to hide, small-town family doctors even should be educated. I know they do ER rooms, ER nurses, that kind of thing, but they need to do it in like the smallest places. It happens everywhere, not just in big cities.
If you are committed to ending sex trafficking, you must go after the demand, and that means that women are less likely to be lured into trafficking.
Though it's illegal to pay for sex, police countrywide have laid few charges against buyers. And of the 511 human trafficking incidents reported to police in 2019, only a third resulted in charges. Even fewer result in convictions. Morgan Sauerbutz is one of the few survivors whose case made it through court. She wants trafficking sentences increased and enforced.
When I initially spoke with the human trafficking officer, she had told me that I could expect to see him and Annalee in jail for 5 to 8 years, that the courts were taking this as seriously as murder.
Though her traffickers were charged, they pleaded guilty to lesser offenses. One was sentenced to 18 months. The other was given probation.
The process from the very beginning is excruciating. So for a woman to have to go to the police department first and tell her story. Then if there's a preliminary hearing, she has to tell her story. And then if there's a trial, she has to tell her story. It's too much because every time a woman tells her story, she's re-traumatized.
Megan Walker wants preliminary hearings to be streamlined to make it easier on the victim, who is likely already struggling. Caroline PUGH-ROBERTS was trafficked for 8 years. She says it's critical to have financial, psychological, and practical support, and it needs to last.
A lot of these women, their worlds are very small. It's just the trafficker and what he makes them do. So we bring them to places like this and show them that there is more to life. We've built collaborations with Goodwill, who will give them work experience on the retail floor, because many of these women have never held what they call a square job.
Survivors have a long road ahead, but getting out is the first step.
Sometimes it's one person who approaches that girl or woman and says, "Is everything okay?" Somebody reaching out and asking a question can change a woman's life.
There's much more to this story and the efforts of a small group of women working hard outside of the system to save trafficking victims. Tune in on Tuesday, October 26th at 10 p.m., 9 Central for Veracity Fighting Traffic here on City TV.